Hello, welcome to Treasures of Knowledge with Kimberley. This is your Come Follow Me companion to the studies of the Old Testament this year. And today's lesson is on Genesis 17 through 23 and Abraham 1 and 2. Last week we covered Nimrod, the mighty hunter of the Bible and Book of Mormon, and it set the stage for today's lesson in discussing what I consider to be the pinnacle event of all of the Old Testament, which we will discuss. But at the end of this lesson, I will leave you a chart that I used to teach my primary children this week. Let's turn to Abraham 1 and 2, where Abraham has been visited by God and told of the blessing and covenant, and he desires the promises of becoming a father of a great nation and the Prince of Peace. He begins teaching the people of the land, and as we know from the previous lesson, either Nimrod is the king of Babylon or one of his successors. But the people have turned from righteousness and following God. They do evil continually, and they are idolatrous. They've even started human sacrifices. And this is the environment where Abraham is preaching, and Abraham's message is not being well received. And he is taken and then is about to be offered as a sacrifice himself. Now, Terah is somehow implicated in this event, and there are many ancient records that have a collaborative account of Terah either being a member of the king's court or captain of the guard, and helped to take him and bind him to offer him as a sacrifice. Abraham 1 and 2 give an account of him repenting of this, and curiously forgives him of this because he joins them as they leave the land of Ur and travel up north to Haran. But this is an incredible account of events that really is a marvel to me. But today, for today's purposes, we are going to focus on the pinnacle event of the Old Testament. So we're going to fast forward. After leaving Egypt, they settle into the land of Canaan. And it is at this time, Abraham and Sarah have not had any children yet. He's nearly around 70 years old, and Sarah suggests that he takes her handmaiden to bear a child. So this is where Ishmael is born. And there's a great story here in Genesis 17 that we will explore at a later time. But it is many years later before Sarah and Abraham have a child. As a matter of fact, Abraham is 100 years old when Isaac comes around, and Sarah is 90. Can you imagine? So Sarah and Abraham have their son Isaac after waiting patiently for so many years. But when Isaac is around the age of 40, God comes to Abraham and asks him to do the unimaginable, to take his son and offer him as a sacrifice. Abraham is led to a land that will take a 3-day journey to get there, and he leaves with Isaac and 2 or 3 servants and travels to this land of Moriah. Now, this is rather poignant and significant because the land of Moriah, as we read in 1 Chronicles, is the land that David purchases from the Jebusite, and his son Solomon builds the temple. Not only this, but the same Mount Moriah on a separate summit where Christ dies on the cross. This is where Abraham is instructed to go with his son, build an altar to do this sacrifice. As he's ready to do so, the angel comes to him and stops him. I am overwhelmed by the display of incredible willingness to submit to God's will through this request. I am in complete awe over the portrayal of Abraham and Isaac on the stage in the verses of Genesis, as they act as symbol of the love of our Father in heaven, as he offers this magnanimous gift and sacrifice of his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. And as we look at Abraham in this lesson today, we see priceless examples of forgiveness, patience in waiting, and in great meekness. As we look at these qualities and try to implement them, they are ones that will ennoble and refine us to help us become like our Savior Jesus Christ. But this event, the pinnacle of all the Old Testament, is to allow each one of us to contemplate the love of our Father in heaven and our Savior Jesus Christ. So don't miss the opportunity to teach this lesson to of love to your children. Here's a copy of the lesson that I use for the children in my primary class. Rather simple artwork, but as the pioneers of the church left a great legacy on faith, let's leave this legacy of the love of our Father in heaven to our children. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.